Alright, I said it was on its way and here it is. Welcome to this genius style lyric breakdown video of my newest SoundCloud exclusive song, Smokin' Dope on Golden Roads. So before I really get into it, I just want to say, hey, I'm Aqua or Aquarius of Fallen Snow if you don't know me. If you've been here before, happy to have you back. Thank you for joining us again. In this video, I'll be breaking down the lyrics to my new song, Smokin' Dope on Golden Road, as well as talking a bit about the cover art and the symbolism with that, and then I can go more in depth on my thinking and my state of mind when I was writing this song. I want to talk about the cover art because I think there's some great symbolism in it and it works really well with the song. So here you can see the cover art. I chose a screenshot from the original Wizard of Oz, and I think it has some great symbolism for both the Golden Road as well as that kind of path out of the forest up to the Emerald City. And if you know anything about Freemason symbolism or symbolism in general, it's almost representative of the two pillars. The names of the two pillars, or the letters representing them, being B and J, or their names being Jasheen and Boaz. I haven't recorded it yet, I'm gonna do it after this, but if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check out the video I'm gonna post before this one that is going to be talking about those two pillars and the whole iconography, symbolism, and the story behind those two things, right? So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out, and I'll make sure to put links for it both in the video and in the description. But then yeah, without getting too much more into that, let's get into the lyrics, and it'll kind of make more sense of why I think the album cover works so well with the lyrics and the correlations between the two. And the last thing I'll say before I start breaking down the lyrics here, the ideas or the concepts in the song are quite reminiscent of what I was talking about in my last lyric breakdown video, breaking down the lyrics to the 3 songs in my last SoundCloud exclusive EP, Swirlwind, and kind of the ideas talking about sobriety, getting sober and being sober, or Cali sober, I guess, just weed and alcohol, and kind of my lived experiences, you know? But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into breaking down the lyrics, starting with the first verse of the chorus. When I'm all alone, I smoke my dope and get to floating. I've been past them clouds, past them stars when I was rolling. I ain't talking herbs, rocks not from this earth. You know I'm glad I quit, back before the bucket went and kicked. So, like I was just saying, you can already see from the first verse of the chorus that I'm talking about quitting doing drugs, or the substances, the harder substances, and talking about my experience, how yeah, when I was on the rocks or Molly, I was floating, I was out in space, whatever, but now I'm just smoking weed on a better path in life. And talking about how I'm glad I quit that stuff before I kicked the bucket or I died, and I couldn't have both of the experiences of both doing the drugs and then becoming sober and talking about my experiences. But then yeah, I feel like I'm decently good at being able to tell a story in a few amount of bars, putting a lot of context to my bars while also making them sound pretty good and flow. I think it sounds pretty good on the beat especially. But then let's move into the second verse of the chorus here. The water boy's bringing waves, not stopping till I'm getting paid though. I'm trying to pave the way, roads of gold like melted pesos. I don't need no bucks, dogs a bunch of goons. I ain't one to flock, black sheep with a tarnished spoon. So basically what I'm talking about there is having the willpower and the drive to work and really get it done. I've been putting the work in, I'm not going to stop until I start getting paid, but at the same time, money isn't the only thing out there, right? I could even take that money, melt it down, and pave a golden road, right? Kind of reminiscent of that better path that I was talking about at the start, and then being able to show people a path that they could take in the future. And then yeah, talking about other people that I used to be friends with, talking about how they're kind of slaves to the system or to working for their money, and how, you know, it seems like money and partying are the only things that matter to them, but I'm trying to say that that's not what I need, that's not what I want, even though I was born with a quote-unquote tarnished spoon, or maybe not the the richest parents or the best life circumstance. It definitely wasn't bad by any means, but definitely middle class in terms of, or I guess upper middle class in terms of having enough to pay for what we needed or wanted, but not going overboard. We didn't have a mansion or anything like that, right? But yeah, continuing into the verses now, let's get into the first one. I was close to the hurtin', volcano close to the burnin'. You know I touched the flames, burnt, but only wait, learn shit. Op, I'm trying to drop a bot or two, who? Poppin' fire through the roof, like them bottles back the coop. So yeah, kind of working on more wordplay or working on more storytelling while also focusing on the bars and the rhymes. But yeah, talking about my own experience again, kind of like walking over coals, except walking over coals isn't supposed to hurt. That's why I was talking about being in a volcano. It feels like I'm down in the core, close to the burning or that hot lava, right? In my core, especially, kind of like what they talk about in Naruto with the will of fire. And then in the second part there, I'm talking about my ops, trying to drop a bot or two. NPCs not really thinking for themselves, just kind of going with the flow. Not really living for themselves, just doing what other people tell them to do, right? And then kind of a bar about, popping fire through the roof like bottles back the coop. You could compare that to like a dragon spitting fire or breathing fire. Or you could kind of compare that to like a drive-by gangster shooting up the competition kind of thing. But as we see with 50 Cent, it might not work. But then yeah, continuing those ideas of popping bottles in the back of the coop, going into the second section of the verses now. My flow's like limos, riz 'em up but ain't no Lizzo. Biggest butt there, record clean, ain't no criminal. Who them kids been calling ho? Check your folks, who? Don't need a stick, don't need no pole. Let my fist do all the work, bitch. So yeah, if you know anything about the Lizzo controversy or what happened with her and her dancers and how she was kind of abusing or assaulting them, then these bars make more sense, right? If you don't know, I suggest you go and do some research on that because it is kind of a crazy story. I won't get into that in this video, but it is kind of funny. And that's why I said the biggest butt as a double entendre, because Lizzo has a decent amount of junk in the trunk, you could say, as well as biggest butt because that's not me and my record is clean. I don't want to do shit like that. Fuck that. And then in that second section there, who them kids been calling ho? Check your folks. I was referencing that meme it's an old meme of a kid in a classroom throwing the ball of paper at the teacher, and he turns around and he said, whoever threw that, your mom's a hoe. It's a classic, old but gold. So that's kind of what I was referencing there, and I kind of wish I had like a sound clip in the back of the song. I feel like that would have been pretty funny too. But then yeah, again, talking about how I don't need weapons, I let my fist do all the work, which is also kind of what I was talking about in the Swirlwind EP, right? But then yeah, then it goes back to the chorus, so I don't need to repeat that. It's not a crazy long song, so this video probably won't be too long either. The song comes out to 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and it also has a decently long build up at the start, which I did decide to keep, and I was thinking about after, I could trim that down, but that's kind of the executive producer in me, right? But then yeah, I think this was a fun little single to drop. I just wanted to drop to kind of keep consistently posting. And yeah, I've been working on the next EP, so this one kind of just, like I said, one to keep the flow of things going, right? I might try to drop every like 3 to 4 weeks. I think that might be a good range. If they're singles, I might even do every 2 weeks, but that might be a little too much. But if they're SoundCloud exclusives, I think that gives people reason to go to my SoundCloud and consistently be checking it for new projects, right? But then yeah, again, comparing both the lyrics and the album cover, I think I did a pretty good job in choosing an album cover that worked well with the lyrics, especially because it was kind of more hurried, like I was right about to post a song and then I realized I didn't have an album cover yet. And I thought, oh, perfect, let me find where the Golden Road comes from. It's both the Wizard of Oz with the yellow brick road, and then I just looked it up on Google here, and it says the idiom streets paved with gold or roads of gold generally refers to the belief that a place offers a vast amount of opportunity for wealth and success, often in a romanticized or exaggerated way. So, in a sense, kind of taking that idea of a romanticized future or success, but applying that to my music in the real sense. Sorry, a little bit of camera lag there. Becoming sober, or taking that success from sobriety and then applying that more to my music and my career, right? Something that a lot of artists nowadays don't seem to want to do or aren't on the same page about. Which then you could go into questioning, well, why is that the case? Is that genuinely how they feel and how they think? Or is that more because of their label and the people who pay their bills kind of thing, you know? But then, sorry, I am experiencing some camera lag here, and I wonder if it's because of how bright the camera is, maybe? Or maybe it wants me a bit closer to the camera here. We can try that. But yeah, like I said, I don't think this video is going to be particularly long, because the song isn't that long, and the lyrics, especially with the cover art, are more or less self-explanatory, but I like going into it more for my thinking and thought process behind the lyrics and the choosing of the cover art, right? But then yeah, because I'm having issues with my camera, I'll leave this one here for now. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out my last lyric breakdown video, or check out my channel for more of my videos. I have a vast array of different content. And then yeah, the next thing I'm going to record is that video talking about the pillars and Freemasonry, symbolism, and all that stuff. So if you're more into the occult or symbolism or, you know, comparative religious studies, all that kind of stuff, definitely make sure to check that out. Again, I'll have it linked both in this video and the description. But then yeah, I'll leave this one here for now. Thank you for watching. Like I say in all my videos, I love you, stay safe, good luck, and take it easy.